Yeah, I'm good, and you?
I'm good. How's your weekend going?
Yeah. It's going great actually, like just a lot of work, and the weather is great, so it helps. And you?
Y- Yeah, I was checking your CV honestly, and I impressed by the stuff you're doing and you've done in the past. That's really amazing, and it's really great to have you here today
Yeah,
in
thank
the
you. Thank you for
podcast.
inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, Anand, before starting my questions, it would be great if you introduce yourself briefly to the viewers who are watching us. It would be great.
Sure. So I'm Anand. I come from France. Basically, I've done all my education in France, around Paris. Uh, I did two bachelors, so one bachelor in mathematics and one bachelor in physics. So in France, it's kind of like different. You can do like multiple degrees at the same time if you have time and if you want to. Then I was accepted in one of the top engineering school in France, which is called Centrale Supélec. Also a different system. So basically, you have this kind of like big school in France where you can try to get passing an exam. So that's why I did, and Centrale Supélec is like the second best engineering school. So it was great to get into this school. I got a third bachelor there and then a master's degree in applied maths and machine learning, basically, before choosing to do this kind of like new path where going to the US for another master at UC Berkeley. And that's how I ended up in the US. Always around machine learning, large language model like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all these things that are now common. I started working on those AI search engine in a way for 5 years ago now, 4 to 5 years ago, working with top engineers and top researchers in France. Some of them built scikit-learn, like the founder of scikit-learn, which is the most used library in ML almost today. Kind of like a pretty technical background. Now I'm a machine learning engineer here in Mountain View in a startup. And yeah, living in SF and just basically enjoying now here.
Yeah, now you're in Berkeley doing PhD and in
No,
CS.
I finished my Master of Engineering at UC Berkeley last year, and now I'm working as a machine learning engineer now.
Oh, you're not PhD.
No,
Okay, cool. Based on your resume, I adjusted my questions. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging today, the questions I'm gonna ask. And also the viewers who are watching us, this is gonna be a CS heavy interview. So
okay,
the students who are watching us, they will hear more about the AI, the new era of the technologies
okay.
we everyday using, and that kind of questions. So
I'll try my best
just the
to
hint,
reply.
yeah, just a hint for the viewers. And yeah, I'm gonna start my first question with you studied both mathematics and physics before moving into AI. So what inspired that transition?
Yeah. So what happens is that during my master, so basically I started doing a bachelor in mathematics and physics for one reason, which was I was great in both, but I didn't really know like what I wanted to do in my life, like which one of them I wanted to really apply or do something with. So I started at 18 years old just calling a lot of people, cold emailing them, outreaching them on LinkedIn, stuff like that, just calling them and understanding what they're doing right now. I was just being curious basically about, hey, what you're doing, what made you like what you're doing, and stuff like that. By doing that, at some point, one woman I was talking to, which did quants researcher at this time at JP Morgan, told me, hey, you should look out like Kaggle and just like see if this is something that you like. And so I was just like looking at Kaggle. There are like some interactive classes on machine learning, and that's how I just like got an aspect of what is machine learning, what you can apply it for, and stuff like that. And I really like it at this moment. So I was kind of like 19 at this moment, and I really enjoyed it at this point where I started doing online classes on my own, doing the CS229 from Stanford on my own while being in France, watching all the YouTube videos of Andringue. Uh, I just started loving it and like going more deeper into the details of like the technical aspect of ML, and then also the computer science aspect of it, since this was the part where everything that was abstract in math came into life. And that's how also I started doing computer science. So basically, I started doing computer science doing C language from 18 to 20 years old. And I started doing Python in 21 years old. So I was kind of like a newcomer in the in the Python environment, but I picked it up pretty quickly. Where once you've done some C, you basically have like this foundation to kind of like understand other languages. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into machine learning. And then all the other stuff that I've done were driven by this aspect of doing something really technical and doing the best I could to do something that is like cutting edge in this field.
Great. So you also studied in both France and the US. How would you compare those experience and academic cultures from these two countries?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, this is a question I got a lot from French friends, but also from US person I meet every day. I would say the main thing is that in France, I got more like an abstract and theoretical view on every subject that I've done. Like we would go really deep into maths, abstract stuff. We'd go deep into physics stuff that are like a bit more applied, but we would still go into like all the mathematical also, aspect of it. Where coming to the US, it was way different in the way we would approach a subject, which would be like more practical, doing something that is like applying what we're learning and stuff like that. Where in France, it would be more like theoretical exercise, theoretical stuff. And so these two approach feels like kind of like completed my whole my whole technical aspect of I have this deep understanding of like technical stuff coming from France and doing all these things in math and physics from bachelor to masters, and then doing all this really more applied stuff, more applied computer science and mathematical stuff here in the US feels like it completed this whole background.
Yeah, that's great. Building the foundation in France and coming and applying all those techniques and the stuff you
Exactly.
learned in America. Great. Yeah, I think it's a great combination. So you've been at top schools and labs. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome? Uh, and if yes, how did you deal with that?
It's a good question. I I feel like I've never really like took time to think about those things. My main idea is that there's always someone better than you, like in everything. Everything you're doing, there's at least one person in the world that will be better than you. And so I just always try to meet those people, try to reach out to them, try to just get to talk with them, learn from them. And so I feel like this kind of like reduce your possible thought of, hey, am I doing something like an imposter syndrome stuff, whatever. And so I've never really been in this kind of circle, even though I understand why people can also like have this stuff and stuff like that. And I do think that talking with, trying to always reach out to someone that is like better or doing something bigger or something different, whatever, is helping people to like re- recenter kind of like those old thoughts around, hey, those are other people's like doing really incredible stuff, and yeah, you were here for some reasons, and it's not like for nothing. So uh, I do think it's a good thing to do, to kind of like try to extract from you. But I completely understand people like feeling those thoughts. Like it's not an easy thing to deal with also, and it can basically like put you down and stuff like that, which is honestly like the bad part. But I would encourage people to just like reach out to a lot of people, try to like find other people that are doing like better or like they think are doing better and stuff like that, and just talk with them. Because also sometimes you realize that some people that are perceived as good or perceived as like really incredible and stuff like that, when you talk with them, you understand that they didn't do any specific thing that is like highly not possible to achieve. So you also like bring back those things and be like, okay, cool. If he's doing like successfully like that, and I feel like I have those kind of same skills or same thing, maybe it's not an imposter stuff. It's just like, yeah, you have to put yourself out there.
But
Yeah,
in top schools like Berkeley, MIT, Stanford, Caltech, sometimes students expect a lot from themselves and they're pushing really hard themselves. And that's why I asked this question. So I think yeah, the reaching out to the people who has really experience in this kind of stuff and have spent lots of years doing this tough
Yeah,
research, tough jobs, they can definitely help. And I think
yeah.
that that's a great advice. These days we hear LLM a lot, and I'm in bio stuff. I'm hearing LLM, which is large language models. And can you explain us in a simple word what is LLM?
Yeah, let me try to do it like in a digestible way. Uh,
I know it's hard, and
no, we'll get to it. Uh, we can try to think about it as like a box basically that knows a lot of like English, French, like a lot of language basically, that is able to process language, which is kind of like new in the sense that it's not numbers, even though those numbers represents some words. So basically what happens is that you ask a question to this box will take this question, turn it into some numbers, that those numbers make sense to this box, and then this box will output some other numbers that are in relation to those first numbers, and then get them back to some words, because this black box know how to go from numbers and characters and words basically, and then output those words that are like the the most highest probable composition of words given your words that you basically gave as an input. I don't know if it's like as high level you would expect it to be, but that's the kind of way I would be thinking about this.
yeah, I got it. I got it. And student can comment if they have any comments on this definition that Anand gave us. My next question, what does a research intern in AI actually do day to day?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been able to intern in multiple different places. In France, doing really technical, kind of like really just technical research. More applied research in the US at UC Berkeley, UCSF. I've done also some research at Princeton, which was more on the technical side. So I feel like the type of research you're doing will also define what you will be doing on a day-to-day basis as a research intern. When it was more technical, it was a lot of like reading paper is kind of like the ground basis for all of them. This is where nothing changes if you're doing applied or not. It's like you'll read a lot of paper, and honestly, it's one of the most fun part also of this job is like you're reading stuff that maybe not even like 0.1% of the population has read in their life or like understood, and this makes you really special as like a research intern because you have this opportunity to like learn something that is really edgy. And even if you don't understand it the first time, it might take a month, 2 months, 3 months. You'll still be like better than anybody who's tried to read it or who's never done that. And these kind of like things makes the research internship really interesting and like helps you also like push those things. Now on the more practical part, when you're doing more theoretical, it's a lot of trial and error as like any other research, but it's also a lot of like proof, a lot of like backing everything you're doing with some insight, with some data, with some mathematical proof that then you need to explain and like make it make sense in a way. Where in the applied side, it's more about okay, we know that these things might work for this type of case. Let's try to apply it to also our use case because we know that it's kind of like almost the same. So let's try it and see the result. And then you'll do a lot of like trial error, and it's more about like what's the results you want to achieve, and am I able to get it and to get there by any means or by any new models that you might create, any mix models you might create or stuff like that.
Correct. Nice. Thank you. And you also have an experience working with G. Varrock, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Yeah, who is the founder of Scikit-learn.
Exactly.
So how was the experience and what lessons did you learn by having
Yeah,
this experience?
sure. This was wonderful. It was really at the beginning when I was still learning AI, learning machine learning. It was my first experience working with LLM, reading the first papers on BERT, the first papers on like how LLMs are working and stuff like that. I spent I spent a few months just understanding this paper. Uh, it was a lot to ingest, and also I would say the so two main things that I retain a lot from this experience. The first one is that the lab I was working in, uh, first of all, to find this internship, it was only like cold emailing, so it was kind of like a luck. Like I was lucky to just get there at some point. Uh,
So
the
you're
first thing.
emailing to the founder or to the people who are working in the company, and
Oh, so this is a research lab that created Scikit-learn basically, and he was the leader of like the whole research lab, and he was the main contributor of the project. So he was named as like the founder, but there are like a 15 people I think working on this thing at first. And so I just emailed him, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, we can work something out. Like, let's try to find something." And so I was working on LLM with him. The first thing that was insane, and I would say that it made this experience incredible, was the quality of the people around you. So basically, any question that I had, there was an expert in this exact question that would help you and like give you a perspective that is different from how it is written on a paper and stuff like that. And this was honestly invaluable. Like I do think that's why anybody who's interested in like the research aspect should do a research internship, is because you're able to meet those peoples that are like incredibly good at one thing, and they will help you like grasp the knowledge. They'll also give their time to you by taking time and like explaining you stuff in different ways. Even if you don't understand, it's not a problem, because they know it's like hard, they know it's a lot of time together, so they'll do it again, explain to you again, and take their time, which is honestly invaluable. The second thing that made this experience really cool, which I do think is just a it's just a timing stuff. But ChatGPT went out exactly in the middle of this year, so I started working on LLM without all these new architectures. So it was 100 millions of parameters. Then ChatGPT came out, and it was 100 billions of parameters, and we saw this whole shift coming from BERT to like ChatGPT, and then all the other models coming after that. And this was honestly also something really interesting to see how a research lab is adapting to all these new things that just goes out at some point. And also, it was in France, so there was also all these things about the data, about the privacy, about is it good to have a closed model, is it good to have an open one. So we also had a lot of debates. So this opens also your mind, because you understand more about like how people think about those things. Honestly, this experience was like just incredible for so many reasons that I just cited, that it made this really interesting for me, and it helped me in also like all the other experiences that I had after that.
nice. So for students who are studying CS, which one do you recommend? Going to internship for research labs or going into the big tech companies?
That's a that's a good question. I would say it's like depending on the main thing that you like. I feel like there's that's my view on it. Honestly, it doesn't have to be like a general view, but I feel like there's two main things that you might like as a CS student, which is the practical aspect of it. Going into there's a problem, I'll solve it in the most efficient way, or whatever the best way possible, and then I'll go to the next problem, solve it, and go on. And in this case, I would say that working in a big tech, or in a startup, or in any other companies makes more sense for you, since you'll be working on like real life problems, and you'll be the one that will be asked to, hey, come up with a solution that works, and just go out there. Where if your interest is more about, hey, I really like the technical aspects, and I would like to push it to like an extent where I'm the only one that knows what's happening there, or like I'm the best one, or I'm one of the best in the world to do this thing, then the research aspect is maybe better, so that you'll spend sometimes just understanding what's happening, trying to push it, trying to do something that hasn't been done before, and see if it works or not. Uh, and even if it works, you want it to work at like a better or higher accuracy, or higher whatever metric you use that was done before. So I would say it depends on like what is your main thing that you like. I would still advise to computer science major to do a little bit of both, because I feel like without doing it, you don't really know if you like it or not. So spending like a summer doing a summer internship in research, even if you're not sure if you like it, might still be worth to know that you really don't like it. Uh, this will help you also know like on your next step what are you looking for. And this was one thing that really also helped me by doing all those different things, because I also done some summer internships in production stuff and everything. It helped me know what I wanted to do next, and I do think it's still important in bachelor stuff like that to be able to experience that.
Yeah. I think also students usually have the chance to go to two or even more internships.
In France, no, which is why I kind of like discovered a lot of things coming to the US. So basically, in France, the usual path is you do your bachelor. You don't really do like internship or stuff like that. You do some small projects, but they're more like uh, they're like a course or class project. But you don't know really like a research internship or uh, an engineering internship, whatever. So I had to put myself out there in France because it's hard also to get one. But I still did it because I was really interesting, like curious at this moment. So I just did it and it worked out well for me. But I feel like in the US, as you said, it's way better and way simpler to get like a first summer internship as a first year student in bachelor stuff like that. And that's why I also do think in the US it's more practical. From the first year, you can go out there and like try something more practical, put into practice something that you learned during this year and everything. So yeah, you're totally right. Like in the US, it will be different.
Nice. So many people know ChatGPT, and I think many researchers all over the world using that. But you've already worked directly with similar models. What's something you think is surprising about this kind of models that most people don't realize?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's surprising or not, but I would say that they basically made it out in a way that everybody knows that now you can chat with something, where before usually it was not like a chat things. Before it was more like a specific task you would use an LLM for, and then get like a response. Some people tried this kind of like chatbot stuff, but they didn't really make it out as something that was able to retain the context and stuff like that, or like retain the main meaning of what you were saying and stuff like that. So one really big aspect that made ChatGPT what it is right now is this kind of like user experience also that people don't talk about. But today ChatGPT is ChatGPT because of this user experience. Even if the model is also like one of the best, obviously, without this user experience, ChatGPT wouldn't be ChatGPT. Uh, and this is also thanks to a lot of people working in design, in UX. This whole department in OpenAI has to be like one of the best in the world because they came up with something incredible. And now you can see that this UX, this user experience, is replicated in like a lot of new startups that are growing fast, like Lovable, for example. They did this kind of like GPT experience, but for web development, front end UI development, which is now the same. You prompt what you want to be built, and this created this kind of like new user experience that people really like because it feels really personalized. It feels like you can ask whatever you want. It feels like you can do whatever you want, and this is to me one of the greatest thing that was done also, alongside the obviously big technical challenges around ChatGPT.
Right. From your experience, what's harder, building a model or making it useful in the real world?
Oh, making it useful. I mean, you can kind of like see it right now with all the models we have out there. We have so many models now in LLM. I'm seeing so many in the sense that you have the main model, the base model, but then you have all the fine-tuned one. You have all the different one that have been derived from one, the distilled one. So you have like really a lot of model out there. If you go on your Ging face, you'll see there's like so many LLMs right now. Knowing which one will be the best for your application comes to being able to really understand a model, and also creating one because a lot of times you don't have the model in hand to do exactly the task that you want to do. Then you'll have to also create your model. But once the task is defined and you know how you want to assess it and how do you want to like go about how you want to solve this problem, then this becomes a little bit easier to find the model. So creating the model in a way is kind of like now it's kind of like a commodity, but being able to apply it in the right way to your problem becomes where the difference is made basically. And you can also see it currently with all those vibe coding tools. You have so many now vibe coding app uh, solution product that are coming out there, and basically they all use almost the same models behind. It's just like how you use it to put it out there
Yeah.
and solve the problem that becomes the real knowledge, the real difference. So yeah, I would say the second one for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. So these days we're hearing a lot. This era is the era of startups and entrepreneurship. So if you had to choose, between being a world-class researcher or a world-class entrepreneur in AI, which path would you take and why?
I think I've made my choice already in the sense that I'm working in a startup. I'm also building my own stuff. So I feel like I've made this choice over the last 2 years, I would say. But to be honest, like both are insanely great. Like you can be an insanely good researcher and then go into the startup world and do as great as someone that has started as like 18 doing startups. I've seen also the other way. It's more rare in a way. You don't see it often, but I've seen. I have a good friend of mine who's been like working on a startup on something really edgy, and then he went to academia to do some research because of what he was working on in the startup. Because in a way, there's something really. There's one common point in both of them, which is you want to push the boundaries to outer of their limits that we have right now, which is a little bit something common in those two things. But yeah, my choice for now is the entrepreneurial phase for one reason, which is I like to produce something that people can use after that. Where in research you can produce something, you can write the paper, but you're not sure that someone will be the target and will use this at the end. Where in the entrepreneurial phase you have to create something that people will use, or you're not doing it the right way. So that's why in my experience I chose this. But honestly, it becomes a choice of what is the thing that you want to pursue in a way.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think is the one of the most important skills that people who want to move toward the entrepreneurship should have?
The best skill you can have is networking. This is one of the best skill you can have, which is basically being able to put yourself out there and talk with anybody. If you're able to do that, you'll be one of the best entrepreneur because you can talk with anybody. You can also like understand them. They can understand you, and then you can create these kind of like boundaries that will last. And this is something really hard to do, honestly. But if you're able, and you can train to kind of do that, like you can just put yourself out there, and with time, you'll see that you'll get better at just making friends in a way. Because being an entrepreneur in a way, it's also like making friends, a lot of friends. Your customers become your friends, your investors can become your friends. The people you create what you're creating becomes your friends. So this is really important to have this kind of like emotional IQ, the EQ, I think they call it.
Yeah,
uh,
EQ.
I would say it's one of like the most important thing. And yeah, to me, it's something that I think can make the difference between two good entrepreneurs.
Correct. So my next question is, I think is one of the hardest questions I'm
Okay.
going to ask today. Do you think AI is overhyped or are we still underestimating its true impact?
Yeah.
Sometimes we hear people saying, okay, the medical field gonna completely get destroyed by AI. We won't gonna need any doctors or any engineers or any field. All the fields are going away because of AI. And do you
Yeah.
think this is overhyped or we are underestimating sometime the AI?
It's kind of becoming like a philosophical question now. My take on that is that it's obviously a technology that's gonna change how we do things, how we interact with things, how we think about things. Also, uh, now the kind of like step to get to the place where we replace things completely, like really important things like legal, like medical, like the really touchy things in a way, we still have work to do. And this work is being done right now by a lot of startups, by a lot of researchers. They're working on like how we can apply this thing to like help decrease the rate of like failure in some stuff, which are really great. The only thing that I always keep in mind when doing something is how something can be used in a bad way, because there's always this bad aspect that comes with also this really great aspect, which is people will be using some models to make bad things. You'll have all the security also problem around it. If you base a medical model on an LLM, what if someone is able to like do some prompt injection or do basically some like hacking, and will just basically cut you down on all these things. So I would say it's a yes and no question in the sense that it's a we don't know question, but like my point is this will be something really huge. This will help do things better than we were able to do them. This will kind of like, I see AI as an elongation of the body, as we can start doing less the thing that we didn't want to do that are like repeatable and stuff like that, and focus on what is really important for us. But at the same time, I get what people can say about, hey, it's just overhyped because it doesn't really work. But this is kind of like a process of, hey, we'll get better at it with month, years, and we'll see that it's getting improvements. And yeah, we've seen a lot of like great things happening. I know I talk a lot about Lovable, but they did something incredible, which is now any non-technical person can come up with a website in like few hours. I mean, it might sound like not that of a big deal, but at the end, it's still something that before would take few days, few weeks, depending on your experience. And now in a few hours, you can like come up with a website being hosted somewhere, put it out there, talking with people, sharing your website, and this is just like insane. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't remove the work of others people that are doing it. Obviously, there will be this kind of like cut at some point of people using AI in their work and people who really don't want to use it. And we started seeing that with a lot of startups that are right now that are operating with a really small headcount, but since they're using AI, they're able to still do great things. So this is something that I would say something we need to think about at some point, which is obviously some works, some jobs will be less and less will be impacted by AI, and we'll need to think about how we can help those people get into other fields or get into more AI stuff related things so that they can also like keep up with those things.
So the next question comes to the mind is this: if AI starts making decisions that affect people's life, like
Yeah.
in hiring or healthcare, who should be responsible if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
The company, engineers, or AI itself?
Yeah. This one is really hard, honestly. I would say
Is
that
there any answer to the that's is there any answer to this question?
I would say the current answer is that there's always a human in the loop. So you can always go back to, hey, this human in the loop, like my view on that is that any any life decision or like something that would impact a lot of people, if you use an AI to do that, you'll have to have a human in the loop somewhere that is like critical to the process. Not so that you have someone to blame, but more so that you have someone that is kind of like supervising what's happening. Now, who to blame is the great question. I would say that the company, if it's something about like a company like Tesla, my take is that the company has to take the responsibilities for that. But this is honestly just like a take on who should who should take the problematic is like, if you talk to people working at Tesla, they will tell you, no, this is about the driver. We made something incredible. Sure, but whatever. It just depends on like where you place yourself. But on my view, is more about, hey, if the company delivers something that they think it's like in the right place to do something, then if something bad happens, it's because they didn't back it up in the right way. But this is only my stance in a way.
Yeah. And since you mentioned there will be someone always to supervise AI, so you believe AI never gonna get independent, I mean?
I would say it depends the task on which you want an AI to be dependent on. It's my view on that. Honestly, it's not like the most, like a lot of friends around me are just like, yeah, AGI will come and will do everything alone. Sure. And we can think about a world where even the world rulers are AI. We can think about companies ruled by AI. Honestly, yes, we can think about all of that. I don't think we're at this stage right now. We've seen Anthropic trying those things. So they basically did set up an experiment with AI agents, rolling out an e-commerce B2B, no, a B2C e-commerce site, and they saw that the agent was not really good at like doing a lot of things in the business, so whatever. So I do think that currently we're not at this stage, but even like in few years, I would say for the reason that you mentioned before about like the responsibilities, stuff like that, you still have to have someone at some point somewhere that will be able to take the responsibilities. So if you create an AI rolled company, the person who created it, because at some you still have someone that will need to create something somewhere. will be held for responsibilities for me, and so you'll still have someone in the loop at some point. But this is my view on that, in the sense that I don't believe in this thing where we'll be ruled by robots or whatever. And I hope it doesn't happen, because then this can become really, really also difficult to just do, and also like to live in this kind of environment. So yeah, that's kind of like my stance on that.
Yeah, I think that's good to hear this from your side. That's always we're gonna supervise AI. We're not gonna let it go by itself. That can be scary. So, and my next question is about the the bias of the AI. Since it's created by human, do you think is it possible for AI to be unbiased?
Oh, what do you mean by bias? Unbiased. Okay, I got it. Uh,
Yeah, we,
no.
we see this in
Yeah,
ChatGPT, which is super
yeah,
clear, right?
yeah. No, it's not possible. The world is biased by definition. Like the whole world is biased. There's not a single piece in the world that is not biased. You can take any population in the world; they have their own bias. It's like by definition, the a person is biased. So it's impossible to have a model that is unbiased when it's trained on data that is biased by definition and by creation also, and also created by people that are biased. So they do choose things based on their bias. So it's impossible. Now the question is, can we try to lower the bias as much as possible? Yes. Obviously, we can try to like bias things based on like people's opinion, but you will never be able to remove all the bias. And we've seen that so many times, as you mentioned, ChatGPT being like in the first weeks, I think, of the release of GPT 3, you had this thing about the scientist. People would ask, "Hey, can you create a function to know if someone is a scientist or not?" And the first thing that happened, it was, "If woman, no." And and this is not because ChatGPT is so, is someone against women and stuff like that. It's just that the data behind it is that in the world there's less women who did paper and did become like a create that did publish paper and stuff like that. So in the data you had this bias, but this bias is basically just inherent to the world. So in a way, if you want a better model without bias, you want a better world at first, because it's based on the world. And since it's really hard to get like a better world at first, to get to the world, to get to the model that isn't biased, you'll still have this gap. So yeah, you can lower this bias, but a completely unbiased model, to me, it's almost impossible right now.
It's almost impossible. Yeah, totally makes sense. Some argue AI is being developed so fast without enough safeguard. Do you think researchers should slow down innovation to keep it safe?
That's a good question. I talk with a lot of researchers about this thing. So one main thing that's happening today in research is that a lot of paper come out. So first of all, researchers now are in this kind of like race where everybody wants to publish, everybody wants to publish a lot. There's a lot of conference happening every year. Like every 2 or 3 months, you have a major conference. Next month is ICC, I think, in Hawaii or something like that. So basically, every month you have to publish, because if you don't get there, and you kind of like lose your credibility and stuff like that. Which is completely out of what research is, which is you take your time, you do something really deep, and then you come out. Now it's about, hey, you do something fast. And doing something fast, by kind of like definition, you also like remove a little bit the quality, and you just try to do an incremental addition to something that was done before. And so this is something we talk a lot with friends about. What if the conferences that currently are kind of like driving also this race start doing them every 3 weeks, every 3 months, stuff like that, but they're like once in a year at the same time, or like once every year there's like another one that happens, or at least like a better organization of this thing, so that this is not a race, but this is really about quality. As you mentioned, it's getting like doing research without safeguard, and it's not really good in a way. Like we talked about bias, by doing that we're not going to get somewhere around. And so in my opinion, we should at some point go back to what research is really, which is trying new things, trying things that people didn't try. Obviously there's a part of research which is like getting incremental adds on and getting better, slightly better than the last model and stuff like that. But we should also have this part of the ecosystem that is working on something new and not just like doing this incremental stuff, which is, I feel right now the proportion is like diminishing on the people working on really new things, which to me is kind of like also alarming. We're in the entrepreneurial phase. If we kind of like do this parallel, people are trying more and more to do some things that have not been done, and there's this kind of like balance that is getting unbalanced in a way. But yeah,
Do you think everyone in every field should start learning AI, coding?
it's never bad, I would say, to know it. Obviously there are some places where it doesn't make sense to do AI, like the writing. If you're a writer, using AI might also like change your way of writing, might change how you also start thinking about your writing, because there has been some study on that, on the impact of using AI on how you think about things and everything. And we've seen that it's also shaping how people think in a way. And so I would say in a lot of technical subject, technique like in CS basically, yeah, definitely learn with AI. Learn how to use AI in your work, learn how to use it well, because there's like a good way in a way to use it, which is understanding what's happening and not just like letting the AI do everything. Basically, being kind of like a supervisor of the AI that you're using is a way to learn how to use AI that is pretty good that I've seen. There has to be other ways that are even better. I'm not like a professional in this part, but to me in CS, yeah, you need to be able to use AI for different type of thing, even in design, even in UX, UI, using AI has a lot of like pros. And one thing that's kind of like not sad, but to think about is that tomorrow the world will appreciate more a coder, like a coding person that's able to use AI to go 2 or 3 times faster than you if you don't use AI. So being able to use it properly is something really important. And I do think we need more and more people or like classes about how to use AI when you while doing coding and stuff like that, which I didn't see yet, and I hope will come really soon at like all the engineering school basically, because we need classes on like how to use AI and how you make it something that leverages your work, leverages your knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah, personally, I see in my field in bioengineering, so many students starting registering for machine learning, deep learning classes and courses. So it's getting really widespread all over the other majors. And definitely in 10 years, we're gonna see everyone is expert in AI and programming and that kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So, Anand, do you think machines can ever be truly creative, or is there something uniquely is for human?
Machines. Sorry, what did you say at the beginning?
Machines can ever be truly creative. Creativity
Oh.
can happen by AI.
It's kind of a yes and no question. So since AI is always based on data of the real world, I think it can help you like think about things that you didn't think about. But the main creativity has to come from the human, at least in an environment where it's more about being creative. So if it's, for example, let's take an example of someone doing design for a brand. This can help them like brainstorm stuff like that. But the final decision of like exactly what's the real creativity and the real intent of what you're doing and everything, and doing this choice of like, yeah, I know all of these things that I will put together, I think the human has to do it and has to have this creativity. But this can obviously help them and like augment them in a way to work better, and like kind of like if you had a lot of corner to look at, it will help you look at like all of them, and then you can do your best at your work at being creative and stuff like that. And that's also a way that I'm using it right now. Every time I have a task or like I know I want to do something, I brainstorm with my LLM instead of like asking him to do it. I just brainstorm to like know other things that I may didn't like even think about, and then I choose more about like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way and I'm gonna add this thing that you mentioned, and then I'm gonna like modify this part because it makes more sense to do that or whatever. So it can definitely help because it will give you like other ways of looking at a problem. Doing it alone, I would say there's always this thing of Is it something new? Is it something that has been done before? If it has been done before, then yeah, the AI might be able to do it. But if it's new, it might be difficult. Yeah,
Yeah, I usually use ChatGPT as a consultant. I usually talk and say something to see what is the feedback about the
exactly.
research I'm doing, and it's good to get new ideas because it can review all the papers, thousands of papers in a
Yeah,
short time and give you the best output. And
you're right. Definitely.
so imagine we're 20 years in the future. Will people look back at the AI as the best invention or the biggest mistake?
It will depend on your experience. If
But
you didn't,
by the stuff you're seeing these days, the way the big companies treating with AI, the usage of AI in every day, what is your prediction for 20 years from now?
I would say as long as people adapt to it, they will not be angry or whatever. But there's a part of the population that will not be able to adapt to it. Uh, and this part of the population to me will be growing more and more. And this will be the part that we need to take care of. And that's kind of like one of the things I've said before. But to me, this is where we need to also like have a lot of infrastructure, like helping people understand what is AI, how they can use it, and help them also like use it. Because with time, people will be less and less able to use it, or at least understand how to use it. Because being able to use it, it's on the internet. You can try and, and do whatever you want, but being good at using it is like another thing. And currently, we don't have enough infrastructures of classes of just charity helping like elderly people to like get to this. I was talking yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday at lunch, I was talking with an engineer that has been 15 years at Toyota Research Center. He was working on like nano cell technology, something really niche and everything. And we talked about AI, and that's what he told me. It was like, even in my field, which is extremely technical, not a lot of people are able to catch up with what is happening in AI, and they're scared, and it makes sense. And at the same time, nothing is happening to help them catch up. So I do think that if, but this will come back to like politics, where if in politics a lot of people are talking about like AI, the danger, the safety, and everything. If nothing is put at some point into practice to help the population catch up, understand the problems, understand the good things, understand how to use it, then we will go straight into a wall. And if we have those things to put into practice at some point, then it will help the population. But there will be definitely this question of what do we do of people who are not able to catch up? And this question, honestly, I don't really know how you can answer this, but to me, it's one of the critical part that politics and other type of like institution needs to think about right now because this will happen really fast. And it's already happening with like all the layoff we're seeing and all these things. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, we saw, I think, in case of writing papers, university was far behind. Everyone was stuck. Should I use ChatGPT for
Yeah,
paraphrasing or everything? And if the journal gonna use AI detector or something, what's gonna happen?
yeah,
They're gonna write it as plagiarism or something. That was one of the small thing we see the AI going so fast, and it's hard to the other parts to adapt with the speed of the AI,
yeah.
and
You're right.
that's really challenging. So for students and young professionals who want to get into AI research, what's the most important advice you'd give?
First, I'm also kind of like an early career.
So you have a lot of experience,
Yeah,
internships,
I would
research.
say the most important thing is to be curious. Talking with people, it's not easy to find people, but I like, so I've been able to like talk a lot with Luc Julia. He's the co-creator of Siri, who did that like in the early 2000. And one of his advice that I really like, and I do think it's a really really good advice, is ask people if they don't reply to you, then they're the bad person. And basically all the good person on earth will always take time, or at least will try to do their best to reply to you, to give you a little bit of insight if they don't have time, or to refer you to someone if they don't have time, or take time to like talk with you and everything. And by being curious, you'll by by definition, you'll at some point get somewhere where your curiosity is really like at its highest, and then you'll know where you have to like push yourself, learn everything about the technical stuff around, and then apply everything you know and apply everything you want to know and apply everything to get to the place that you want to. If I didn't like call people, try to understand what they did, I would have never been here right now. Maybe I would have done physics. I don't know. And to me, is one of the most important thing in your early career is to be curious, is to be able even, and I know it's not easy. Like, I'm not saying it's really easy to go out there and talk with people. It's really hard, but doing that in your early career would really help you in a lot of ways that we don't even consider as like something important. When I talk with a lot of like investors in those last few days, that's one of the things they told me. I tell them, hey, I'm talking with those person, those person, those person, and they're like, how? You're like 25. And I'm like, I just started cold emailing people on LinkedIn 5 years ago, and here is the result. Now I can talk with a lot of people, and that's cool. But this is something not easy to do, obviously. But putting yourself out there, and by the way, you can put my LinkedIn out there, and if people want to reach out to me for any questions or whatever, they can. I do think this is something important that people knows that they can contact someone or whatever. But yeah, I do think this is important to be really curious in your early career, even if you know exactly what you want to do or if you don't know. That will always help you to understand something, grasp something, get to do something. So yeah, I would say this is my main advice for early career.
I loved it. That was great advice. So, Anand, do you think someone without a strong technical background can still find a role in the AI world?
Yeah, there's a lot of non-technical stuff like product managers, like in sales, you still use AI. I've seen it being used more and more. In customer success, I've seen it being used more and more. There's a lot of places for non-technical person, and and I would say the important thing is to learn how to use those tools, because in any job you can still be able to like apply it in some way. The role I like to talk about is product manager. If you look at product manager like a few years ago or 10 years ago, stuff like that, they didn't really use like coding and stuff like that. Nowadays, you're seeing this kind of like shift where we ask them to use coding, because if they want like a simple implementation of something really quick, they can also like dive deeper into this, ask Claude about it, make a small changes, and then see if it works or not. So I would say that even if you're non-technical, knowing how to use those tools will be really important. And there's a place for people that are non-technical. It's just about like adapting yourself to get there in the right way, in a way, and there'll always be a place for that. And one thing that we cannot remove is the human aspect of, for example, sales. Even if AI is here, being able to be human, being able to talk with people will still be something really important. That will be hard to replicate with AI and stuff like that. And also, there's this skepticism of people by itself of using AI and talk with AI that will come into play. So there will always be places for non-technical role in company.
Great. So, to ending the conversation, I have two funny questions for you.
Go ahead.
So then we can end our conversation.
Yeah.
So my first question, could if you could build an AI to make your personal life easier, what would it do?
It will help me cook. I
Um,
love food. I
okay,
love food, so it will help me cook. Like if I want to cook something, it will tell me exactly how to do it, and I will take time to do it, and then it will help me in the like difficult part of doing it. I don't know if there's like a specific technique to use. It will help me exactly do it the right way and stuff like that. So I would say like cooking is one of the aspects where I would like to have a better assistant in a way.
yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I remember I was watching Shark Tank. I'm not sure you're familiar with this show.
Yeah, yeah, I know it.
Yeah, there was an engineer from MIT, mechanical engineering. He built
Okay,
something called automatic kitchen, and he was putting ingredients, everything on the cashews, and then giving the recipe. And at the end, you were getting your food.
that's cool. But that's
So if
cool.
you collab, yeah, my my last question: if you could collaborate with any researcher in history, who would it be and why? I think this is basically asking about your role model or something.
Yeah, I think I've worked with one of them, which was Gael Varroco. Uh, but the other one, which is pretty funny because I met him on Thursday for the first time in my life, which is Andrew Ng, the professor at Stanford who did the
Okay.
CM.
The
Uh,
Coursera course is really famous from
exactly,
Android.
exactly. Like on Thursday, I was just walking on Castro Street at Mountain View, and he crossed the street in front of me, and I was like, "Why?" That's him. I recognize him. So we got to talk like pretty quickly, and it was really sweet. And I told him about the fact that I started doing machine learning by looking at his videos in France, and now I'm here in the US working as a machine learning engineer. It was like it took his time. We talked quickly, and it was really fun. So I would say working with him because he's like, first of all, he's someone that works in really technical depth. And second is the fact that he's also a voice in AI in the sense that he goes out there, he talks about a lot of things about safety, ethics, all these things around AI that I do think are important. And that's why I do think it's really nice at some point to be working with him because you can also gather his feedback and gather his experience from all these things that you've seen. So yeah, I would definitely go with Andrew Inge.
Great. Yeah, Andrew is one of the greatest AI experts. So, and I think that's it. I really appreciate Anand your time, and I enjoyed having this conversation with you. And I
Thank
hope
you.
the people who watched us enjoyed this really interesting and informative conversation we had.
Thank you
Uh,
for your
for the
invite.
last word, whatever you want to say, that it's you and the viewers, and that's it.
I hope it helps. And as I said before, like my LinkedIn is up there. If you want to reach out to me for any questions, any whatever, I usually take time for people, any people, whatever. Like people did take time for me, so I do think it's normal that I also take time for anybody that has questions or whatever. So feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help, and yeah, be curious, and you'll get somewhere that you like at some point, and that's the main reason I think that you should be working on what you like.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ari.
for watching out. Bye, everyone.